Hello, Chameleon Wranglers. Welcome to this wonderful Monday morning. I have been hard at work this weekend. You know I've been working on those planter box cages, and so I'm going to show you what one looks like. This is the new design that me and James have been working on. So this is the beautiful thing. Let's see, I'm going to switch cameras here. All right, there it is, side view. You see we've already got a screen cage on there. This is the handle by which I am going to be able to move it around. And there is the inspector, trying to see if I've done a good job. So let's see, what do we got here? All right, so we've got that planter box that James talked about. Well, good morning. No, it's evening. Good evening, James. How are you doing over there?
We're doing pretty good, Bill. How are you?
All right, you're back in the garage, so you must be happy.
Yeah, well, you know, this is the happy place to be.
In making it one piece. I did that, and I love the design of being at one piece. Totally simplified the bottom to, it just needs some 2x4s down there. Let's see. Okay, guys, hang on. Oh, let's see. So you can see, there's the bottom. It's got that white bottom. Some of your screen cages are going to come with the black bottoms. That'll work just fine. So, we control this by these handle, what I call handle levers. And this is the handle itself. You can just move it around. This is the cross brace, cross beam? Forget what James called it. And that takes all of the pressure from the lever, and it makes sure that that's distributed throughout the entire planter box instead of being concentrated right here, which would not be a good thing. And eventually that would fall out. This is an older cage. I've used it before. I'm retrofitting it, so it's going to look a little bit old. But in there, that is my Lady Margaret passion flower. Love passion flowers. And of course, freesias are planted in there. There'll be a whole lot more plants, and I'm going to redo the branches and such. Now the screen cage is attached to the planter box frame by these screws that I just drilled right through the frame and screwed it on in. Of course, I filled this bottom with soil and planted it. So there'll be a lot more plants. So sometimes it gets a little hairy trying to get the main plant in through this door after you've got the cage attached. And so consider putting the soil in, putting the main plant in, and then putting the cage on. Now, when I put this cage on, I had all of these branches stuck here. And so I had a little bit of a tricky thing getting it around my passion flower. But there you go. That's what it looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the planting of it. And then I'm going to show you the finished version. Oh, I'm so excited. Now that's one that hasn't been set up yet. I'm going to go ahead and take you on a little tour of some ones that I've done in the past. There will be some in the yard that I'll show you and give you a little bit of an idea what you can do with these planter box cages. All right, first up, I love vines like this mandevilla right here. And there's the geranium, nasturtium down at the bottom. And I like to do a lot with geraniums. And we have a vine. Actually, I don't know what kind of vine that is. I just know it's big, it's leafy, and it grows well. Nasturtium is an annual. It produces seed and then it comes back. I love it. Oop, there's some shed. So we know the guy, I don't see the guy in here, but we know he's healthy. He's doing good. So you see how dense the foliage is. So this is what gives protection from the sun. And this guy, this is a panther chameleon in here. He is doing very well when I do see him. So it's kind of fun looking around and saying, hey, where is he? All right, so you see how the Boston fern has just taken over. And this is my old design where I have 2 6 inches instead of 1 12. And Boston fern is really good at finding its way out. And it kind of makes for a very naturalistic looking planter box. But Boston fern, spider plants, these kind of things just give you this really thick bottom. Okay, so there is a male veiled chameleon in this one. And it can be kind of surprising how well he can hide in a 2x2 by 4 foot cage. But that's what the foliage is for. This is why we need these dense vines. Up here it's open for him to perch. And then down here, it's for him to hide. And this is where he sleeps, is down here. And I can open it up and I can find him. But I like that it's so dense that I can't find him right away and easy. And he takes advantage of this. Every day he goes up, he basks, and then he goes back down into this dense foliage. So he uses it. This is ivy geranium, and this really is my favorite. And one thing to note is when it gets big and bushy like this, it'll be green on the outside, but on the inside, there's going to be a lot of nice perching. And it even though it gets a little dense with dead stuff in there, the chameleon can navigate that. And so they make wide use of this network of vines and even the browning vines. So this is one of my favorites. This ivy geranium is done just wonderful. There's a freesia. I love planting freesias. They come up in the spring. And so this is my yellow freesia. You can see it's poking its way up through all of the spider plants. And all those spider plants started with just one potted plant. And that potted plant put down pups, and those pups took hold. And now I have a forest of spider plants down there. And the chameleons go down and they enjoy. They go down to protect themselves from the sun there. So it works out really, really well. Yeah, I love these planter boxes when they get mature. You can get some very nice effects and a lot of coverage. Oh yeah, and up here is my hardware cloth. I retrofitted that, and that's so insects can make their way into the cage and feed the chameleon. Of course, I don't want to do that with babies, so with an adult, it's fine. And that way, you have flowering vines, flowering plants inside, bringing insects. Okay. I had this great idea that I was going to make a double wide. So that's 2 2x2 by 4s. And as wonderful as it is, and this is a plumbago. And you go inside and you see, yeah, it's got that branch network, natural branch network. But 2 of them side by side, this became a little too unwieldy. I won't do it again. All right, love my nasturtium. I always plant nasturtiums. Chartiscantia, corkscrew vine, or sometimes snail vine. And what's important is that it's just a lot of coverage. And it's always fun to see what's growing. All right, that was just a brief tour of all the fun things I've done with the Planter Box Cage. And I have gardened flowers, vines, and passion fruit. I've had so much fun with the plants in these cages. I remember there was a time where I had a number of these where I just had plants and I didn't even have chameleons in them. And well, of course, you know what happens when there's an empty cage? Well, eventually a chameleon finds its way in it. But I'm just saying that there is so much more to do with this style cage. Now, I just want to reiterate the 2 very important things of making this cage work, or any cage that's going to actually get some natural sunlight. And just remember, and even if you've heard me say this before, let's all just say it together. Heavy foliage and a soil floor. And just a review, bear with me if you've heard this before. The problem is that the sun is just so powerful. And anything that stays in the sun is going to get eventually fried.
And this is why we have to be very careful when we take weather data from weather stations. You know, we've got our app and it tells us how hot it is or what the UV index is. Yeah, that's it at the weather station, but the chameleons are hiding in the foliage. They're hiding to get away from that temperature and sunlight. And if we are going to take advantage of the outdoor UVB and breezes, we also need to give them dense foliage that they can get out of the sun. And you'll notice, like on a summer day, they'll be up in the morning sunning, but as soon as the sun gets anywhere near just over the horizon, the chameleons are going back and they're hiding in the foliage. So you got to make sure that that foliage is there. This is important to say because when you're starting everything out in any kind of cage, often the plants are small. The big bushy plants are expensive, but I got to say, get at least one of them, one big plant for your indoor cages, but outdoors, you don't have a choice. You have to get immediately enough foliage so the chameleon can escape the sun, or else you will get heat stroke. And that can easily kill a chameleon or damage them for life. So, very bushy, very leafy vine. I mean, you saw that veiled chameleon cage that I had. We didn't see the fully adult, large veiled chameleon when we went and looked in there. That's what it should be like, because when the sun comes up and hits the afternoon, he's gone. The second part is a soil floor. Reasons why a soil floor is important is because it's a humidity sink and it doesn't reflect the sunlight. If I just put our normal indoor cage and put it outdoors, the sun would hit him from above and bounce off the floor and hit him from below. We'd be barbecuing our chameleon. So we've got to be careful not to do that. The key is heavy foliage over a soil floor that is heavily shaded. And that allows the chameleon the gradient from heavily shaded, cool, and moist to the top, which is nice, warm, and relatively dry if it's not raining. But we need to give them those choices. With chameleons, we're not as concerned with when it gets cold. They just slow down. Now, obviously, they can't spend their entire life cold, but it's not going to kill them within an hour. Being fully exposed to a summer day will kill a chameleon within an hour. So we need to be very careful. This is one of the huge advantages to this design being on casters. You can move it around depending upon what the season is. During the winter, they are on the patio getting full sun all day. During the summer, they are under the patio being covered up so they only get full sun until about 10 a.m. in the morning. And then it's protected from then on. And it's the same cage and I can move it around. And so it's a very convenient design. Just remember, you have to be there to move it around because if it just stays there in the sun and they don't have enough cover, bad things can happen. All right, all. I am hoping you're enjoying this design and build of this planter box cage. Of course, I am discussing this with James Cross, my co-host on the DIY Chameleon Guys, which is a show that comes out every Wednesday right after the vlog. And last week we talked about this new design. And this week, in 2 days on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about lessons learned. Because yes, I did the new design, but there were some things that I learned and I'm going to share those with James and we're going to talk about it on the next episode. So put that on the calendar. This Wednesday is the next episode of DIY Chameleon Guys. Now, one thing I do want to say is I appreciate all of you who are using the coupon code Chameleon10 at the BioDude because that goes to help support this show. And all of you who are purchasing the enclosures from custom reptile habitats like the Arboreal XL behind me. All of this adds together to allow me to do this. And so I want to thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we're going to continue doing this. And so please take care of yourself. Be excellent to each other. And we'll see you next time.